It's beautiful, isn't it? The wind blew upon the roof. A cool, pleasant summer breeze at midnight. The shingles weren't exactly clean. They were certainly not altogether comfortable. Nevertheless, a short skeleton had found his way out here, and was lying on his back, absently staring upon the night sky. He was bathed in a serene glow. Nature's light covered everything, and the rest of the area cast long shadows that cut through the pale moonlight. Some would find it creepy. Others would find it beautiful. The skeleton turned his head lethargically towards the source of the voice. Redoing that line. Frisk smiled, walking over to the skeleton, who they now recognized to be Frisk smiled, walking over to the skeleton, who she now recognized to be Sans. Silently, she sat beside him, drawing her spring coat tightly around herself for warmth. She squirmed for a moment, trying to get comfortable, before finding a position she thought was suitable. Similar to the skeleton beside her, she turned her gaze to the night sky. Similar to the skeleton beside her, she turned her gaze towards the night sky. With two colors and the simplest of techniques, nature paints a gorgeous painting in the sky. The moon was full and bright, and shone down upon those below as if it were smiling. The stars, like so many of her children, glittered merrily. The two admired the sight, absorbed silently within their own minds for some time. "Shouldn't you be in bed, kid?" Sans broke the silence, his voice falling out heavily. "There's no school tomorrow," Frisk said simply. "You still need your sleep." "I don't feel tired at all," Frisk argued, though Sans was skeptical. "What about you? You need sleep just as much as me." "Couldn't sleep, kid. Had some thinking to do," Sans said vaguely, clearly wanting a subject change. Frisk could detect a subtle unsteadiness in his voice, and that indicated to her that something was amiss. So Frisk kept on the subject. A friend was in need. Even if they didn't want to address it, Frisk was determined to make him feel better. "What are you thinking about?" "Just things, you know. Stars are really out of this world." He chuckled half-heartedly, and Frisk laughed. Nevertheless, something was wrong with her friend, and she would not be deterred. "What sort of things?" Frisk prodded gently. While she didn't want to cause her friend any pain, sometimes it helps to talk about things that bother you, even if Sans didn't know it. He was silent for a moment as he considered his response. "Are you bored yet, Frisk?" It was a strange question. Frisk wondered if he had been talking with Flowey lately. However, his voice had a forlorn lilt to it, unlike Flowey's angry yet apathetic musings. "I mean, are you bored of being here, kid?" Sans continued. "Feels like the first time, but you've probably done this more times than you can count. So when will you go back? Change it up in some way, just to see what will happen?" His voice broke on more than one occasion, and he looked the picture of sorrow. Despite his skeletal facial features, "I can remember things sometimes." His voice had dropped to below a whisper. "In dreams, I see things that never happened. Sometimes horrible things. Ones I want to wake from immediately. But I don't know how to wake up now, and have this all be a dream." This was a side of Sans Frisk hadn't often seen, certainly not in such a way as this. When he finished talking, he had drawn him into himself completely, staring straight ahead into space. Frisk slid closer to the distressed skeleton, and wrapping him in a long hug. After Sans seemed to have calmed down, Frisk released her hug. She gazed up into the stars once again. "There won't be any more resets," Frisk said quietly. "Don't play with my emotions, kid." "I'm serious. I'm happy here, with all of you. I couldn't ask for anything better." Sans perked up somewhat upon hearing this, though Frisk could see he was still skeptical. "Besides, Sans, we've been up here nearly 2 years. If I wanted to reset, wouldn't have I done it earlier?" Frisk reasoned. "There's only one reason that I would reset." Frisk got so much more contemplative, and Sans didn't have to ask what the reason was. Azrael Dreamer deserved a happy ending as much as anyone else. They embraced again. The hug was a miasma of emotions, of forgiveness, thankfulness, bittersweetness, and sadness. They remained out there for a while afterwards, enjoying the solitude of two. It was by silent agreement that they returned inside to finally get some sleep. Toriel would have had a heart attack if they didn't find out what they had done. Slowly, they rose from their places atop the roof, taking one last look off where they lived. Far off in the distance, Mount Ebot towered. It served as a constant reminder of what they had been through, but they had all come together as friends. The pale moonlight mountain was framed by a navy velvet backdrop, bright pinpoints of light glinting through the imaginary holes. "You're right, kid," Sans remarked, looking up at the stars as they made their way inside. "It sure is beautiful."